Okay, 20 people, I think we can start. Um, so, hello everyone, happy to see you. Today we will continue our class. Yesterday you've done wonderful presentations, everyone. So, today we can continue discussing what we should know about the fashion trends. So, let's just quickly check how many people. Okay, 22. Okay, it's fine. Others will join us because it's 5 minutes late already. Okay, so let's understand how the trends work, right? You were researching in the previous homework like the trend setters, the influencers, people who are influencing the trends. You were researching the political or like environmental reasons that make people behave differently and make a trend among people. You were researching the technical changes that is actually influencing to make a trend. But actually, the truth is, in terms of fashion, the trend is created by trend setting agencies such as WGSN, for example. So, how does it actually works? There is a company like WGSN. I mean, this is one of the most massive companies, and of course, there is many others, but this one is like considered to be a serious player in the market. So it was formerly Worth Global Style Network. So that's a trend forecasting company or parent organization Essential. So it was founded in 1998 in West London by brothers Julian and Mark Worth. So their parent company Essential is a business-to-business publisher and exhibition company. So the Essential bought that company, WGSN, in October 2005 for 140 million pounds, right? So as it is an online service, the business derives in revenues from 6 different product subscriptions. So basically they are forecasting trends, not only for fashion, but also for what's new and next in apparel, beauty, color, marketing, retail, and wearables, and interior designs. So that's an interesting fact that the brand WGSN, they predicted that smartphones will be obsolete by 2030. So how do they actually do this? How do they predict trends? Well, it's not just they sit and think, okay, what will be fashionable, and then it doesn't come from the head like this. So the trends forecasters, they analyze data of consumer behavior, data of purchasing history, data of previous fashion collections, of previous colors used. So it's all, I'm sure you all heard about the big data, right? So in this case, when you analyze massive amount of information, you can already see a certain pattern in the behavior of people, right? So in this sense, when you know what people used to buy before, and you can understand that they cannot like some certain product forever. There's everything has a life cycle. So if, for example, bell-bottom pants were so trendy in 2 years before, for 2 years in a row, that definitely means that it will be the end of the trend soon. So by massive data, they are able to predict what will be trendy in 2 years ahead, before it will actually happen. So what they do when they have that big data, they do research, they do analyze, they analyze marketing behavior, they analyze what's going on in the world right now, they analyze what is the politics, how it works, what is the environmental changes, what is the behavior changes. They analyze technological changes, they analyze influencers, they analyze everything around consumer and what can influence consumer, so they can predict what they might like 2 years ahead. Why 2 years ahead? Because in fashion industry, in order to create an idea, to create a style, you need time, right? Because first of all, you need to come up with inspiration, you need to decide the topic, you need to draw silhouettes, you need to make patterns, right? To make that patterns come true into the real garments, it also takes a lot of time. So in fashion industry, we need, especially if it's haute couture, we really need time. And if you will, for example, right now it's spring, second month of the spring, and we will start making the collection for this summer, we will not be on time because it's just not enough time. So when we will finish collection, it will be already winter. Just because it's really time consuming. So what they actually decided to do, the trend forecasting companies, they are creating the trend books. This is inspirational and recommendational information, text, pictures, images, references, fabrics, textures, everything that can get inspiration for a designer or for a creator. It can be interior designs, can be fashion designs, it can be beauty designs. So, because they have different trend books for different industries. So, what they do, they work with the big data, they analyze what will be popular in 2 years ahead. They create trend books and then they sell it to designers or to big brands. So basically, right now, about 12,000 brands are purchasing from trend forecasting companies such as WGSN. And actually, these trend books are very costly. It starts from several $1,000s just for the trend book. So why fashion industry needed? So imagine if the trend books were not there, if they didn't exist, then it will be hard to make a trend to stimulate people to purchase more. So they decided to do something that all the brands will be doing in the same trend, right? If, for example, Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Saint Laurent, and Balenciaga will do something in a similar way, not the same, but similar. Let's say they will all suddenly say, okay, big shoulders are popular. So if you, as a consumer, go to a shop or watch the Paris Fashion Week, and you see that everybody is doing big shoulders, right? Emphasis on the shoulders. You will understand, okay, this is the new thing, this is the trend. So then later on, you will not really care where exactly to buy this jacket with big shoulders. Of course, you will have your own preferences according to brands, and sooner or later you will buy it because everybody do it, and as humans are social animals, we all tend to behave the same way and to mimic each other, right? So eventually it will stimulate a customer, even if she or he has many jackets in the closet, because it's a new trend, it's a new thing, everybody wants to look fresh and stylish. he or she will go and buy that jacket. So this is how it works. And especially when all the main companies, all the main brands are following the same trend, it stimulates even people who cannot afford it. It stimulates the other smaller brands to do something similar in that trend, which is popular right now among big brands. So they create also collections inspired by that. And then mainstream, all the people are wearing that trend. So it becomes the trend and mainstream. And for example, if the trend books didn't exist, in this case, all the designers will be doing very different collections from each other in a very different colors, in a very different styles. So like this, it will be a big mess in the consumer's mind. Like this, let's say one designer is creating very lovely girly dresses with bows and polka dots and like very fresh pastel colors, and another designer is making punk rock, like very heavy metal leather jackets and something like this. Another designer is doing hippie style and very natural looks. So it will be like, for the consumer, it will be, I don't know what's trendy, you have this and this and this and this and this. And when there is plenty of choice, too much things at the same time, people are like, I will wait, I will not buy. Because he's not sure what is trendy, right? So because a person or a human, they need to, when they come somewhere to see the friends, for example, or go to the party or go to the restaurant, they want to look different and they want to look good. But from the other side, when you look too much different, people will think you're strange, right? For example, if you go to a simple cafe, like let's say if you go to McDonald's, wearing a long evening dress in sparkles with a deep décolleté, people will think you're strange because you're not dressed appropriately, right? Or if you go, let's say, to a subway, to metro, to take your ride, and you're wearing high heels and like very mini skirt or a fur or I don't know, very long dress. So it does look good if you do photo shoot somewhere in a nice place. But if you go to another, like if you go to a certain place in that outfit, people will think you're strange. So of course, everyone all the time is trying to fit the environment, right? Every person is trying to look appropriately. So if we have a certain trend direction, within this trend, people are doing their own, like expressing themselves, and people are creating their own things and their own little styles, variations, but still it's more or less the same style direction, right? And like this, people do not look the same, and still they are looking appropriately according to each other. So this is the big idea behind the trend. So that basically it helps to stimulate customer to purchase and to feel that they're doing it right. Okay. But there is another problem about such agencies, that globalization is always killing the individuality. You remember the task which you were doing before, that you were researching the costumes, how they evolve with time, right? So if you remember, we were researching like from 1920s, I think, to the 21st century. So you can see that all the nationalities, as you can see on the screen, all the nationalities have very, very different costumes according to their religious beliefs or their cultural beliefs. Like in some places people think yellow is a lucky color, somebody thinks red is a lucky color, somebody thinks blue is a lucky color. So they have their own culture behind each color and behind each traditional piece. And when it comes to globalization, like in the picture in the middle, we see that here we have a lot of different nationalities standing together, right? And they all look the same. So right now, if you go to modern India or modern Africa or modern Russia or modern China, you will not find in the street people dressed like this in the traditional costumes, right? It's because the norms changed, okay? So right now, because of the internet, due to the ability to share information, before people were like, okay, one country, people see only each other from here. Another country, and everyone had their own, bubble in which they were living, and they didn't know the world outside, and they didn't know it can be different. Right now we know. Right now we have that ability to travel a lot. We have the ability to see each other on the video call. You are in Shanghai and Korea, and I'm in Moscow. So it's a huge distance, but we have that ability due to the internet. So therefore it influenced the fashion as well. And of course the globalization is removing the boundaries between nationalities. So even it's interesting that right now you look at the picture in the middle, and then it's hard for you to really make sure what kind of exactly nationality it is, because you don't have any other hints. You just look at the face of the person, and then you can't make sure by the clothes he or she wears, because it's a simple t-shirt and jeans, right? But if you look at the costumes, traditional costumes, from left and right of the slide, you can definitely know the nationality, right? So this is interesting. This is another side of the coin of the trends, of the global trend-setting companies, is that when they make something a mainstream, when they make new norms, new cores to the trends, to the fashion, of course it's definitely killing the individuality. It's killing the cultural aspect of clothing or fashion. It becomes obsolete. Of course people still wear it for some very traditional events, or like sometimes at certain religions or regions, people are wearing the traditional costumes for weddings or for other events, but still it happens like twice or three times a life, right? And wearing it on a daily basis, it's just already not considered as weird, okay? So this is the other side of the coin of the global trends. Of course, if you have just one wardrobe with jeans, with t-shirts, in such outfit you will be normal. You will not be considered weird wherever you go. If you travel in 2021, let's say, wherever you go, you will look appropriate. Nobody will say, oh, you're dressed weirdly, right? So there is another side of the coin. So we always have to balance, I think, because if we just copy each other, and if we just blindly follow only the trends which were imposed on us, like by big companies like this, so finally it will kill the individuality of all the nationalities. okay? And when we do not respect the traditions, right, I don't think it's really good. So because it's like it's connection to the roots, it's respecting your relatives, it's respecting your own nationality. So there is always should be a balance between knowing who you are and what are your traditions, and what is your traditional costumes, let's say, and what for each type of costume, because for different events we have different types. And being in trend and being not going too deep into, I mean, if you want, for sure, but there should be always a balance, I think, so that you will have your own individuality. Because eventually, if we will all look just the same, it will be just boring. You agree? So, what's interesting is that over time, not only the fashion can change, but also the behavior can change. So here you see the behavior trend example. So maybe you heard from your parents or from your friends or from your teachers is that, oh my gosh, you're always on the phone, right? So yes, people or young people right now are always looking at their phone and doing something there, or reading or playing or chatting. But actually, several centuries before, it was popular to read books, and it was the way of education and entertainment, right? So if you will look at old pictures or old paintings, or even like Disney movies, you will see a lot of characters, they're always in the book like this. Because it was not only the education tool, it was also the entertainment tool. They were reading romantic and fantasies. So in a free time, all they were doing is they were reading. It's just the same as people right now in the smartphones, younger people. Well, so the pattern remained the same for younger generation, but just the tool has changed. Okay, so due to the technological progress in the 21st century, we have everything in the phone, including it can be books, it can be a phone, it can be a photo camera and video camera, and so on and so on. So the behavior trend, as you can see, for younger people is remaining the same. Just due to the technological progress, people just switched the tool, updated the tool. Before, all the younger people were like this in the books, now they are like this in the phones. So time goes, behavior didn't change. Yeah. Here's the example of the fashion trend, because it can be behavior trend, which is still popular to be for younger people like this. The fashion trend. So here is the example of changes in environment or politics. Here was the example of technological progress, how it influenced the trends and so on. Changes in environment. I'm sure you all know Coco Chanel, right? And she was actually very lucky to be born on the right spot on the right time. And the moment when she actually started her career was right on the time between 1909 and 1920s. She started her company and started getting the recognition, and in 1914 it became the World War I. So she's actually known for the petit robe, so basically for a little black dress. But when she started her career, she opened a store with hats in south of France. And she was known that, okay, she was creating a small hats with no decor, no decoration, and that she was like this from the very beginning. Well, actually, no. When she opened her store for the beginning of her career, she had the same hats as everybody else had at that moment in that style. So she was selling the same thing as the other designers were selling, the same type of hats with a lot of decoration. And then she just tried to add into her collection a simplified hat, just one, okay? Then somebody of her friends came and say, oh, it's wonderful. And then she added another one. And then like this, little by little, she replaced those a lot of hats with a lot of elements and roses with more simplified ones. So from the very beginning, it was not the case for her. And then after the announcement of the World War I, of course, they had to close the stores. They had very hard times. They had to stop working and wait until things will calm down a little bit. So she could understand that, okay, times has changed, environment has changed, politics has changed, and we can't afford to wear that long white dresses with lace anymore, because first of all, it's expensive. A long material waist is expensive, okay? White or pastel colors are expensive to maintain. It means you need to wash it more often, okay? Because if you get dirty, it will be seen obviously, right? So third reason, you need to wash it more often. Wearing a huge hat, it's not convenient anymore. If you need to be quick, if you need to go to work, you can't construct that hat for 2 hours before going out. It's very time consuming. So all of that reasons together, she was a smart woman to understand the changes coming and things will not go back in time. So she decided to shorten the dresses, to loosen the silhouette of the waist, because being in a tight corset, and because men went for war and girls, they had to leave the houses and go to work so that they could feed themselves. They could not afford to wear the whole day a tight corset while working hard, right? So all that changes in the environment and politics forced her to create black dress with a loosened waistline, so more soft waistline, more comfortable. She was wearing jersey fabric. She found it in the wardrobe of her boyfriend at that time. So she thought, okay, it's stretchable jersey fabric, it's really convenient and it's really warm to wear. It's not like a thin muslin lace dress, which you need a lot of layers to feel a little bit warm, and it's really expensive. So she found this jersey fabric, and it was considered to be only the sport fabric, right? But she thought, it's warm, it's winter, it's convenient, why not? And of course, like this, little by little, she built up her style and built up her identity, right? Around that idea of that woman has to change, that the time has changed, right? So this is the example how the environmental and political changes change the fashion trend as well, right? Here is another example of the fashion trend. Here you can see early 1960s, right? So here is the British fashion designer Marie Quant. She's known for creating the first miniskirt, and this is also the progress that pushed her to be more brave, because in early 1960s the birth control pills were released. So before it didn't exist, and now women had the power due to medical technological improvements. Women had the power to control the birth. Okay, so before it was very hard, and the mind was very different and very religious and very strict. When it comes to 1960s, people get more open-minded, more expressive, more feeling more free, and especially when woman knows that, okay, if something goes wrong, she has the pill, you know. In this case, Marie Quant said, okay, it's different times. Women feel much more free. So why not to wear a shorter skirt, right? So in 1962, she created the first collection with a very short, it was very scandalous to see girls wearing such mini skirts and mini dresses. So it was so many cases that when it became a mainstream, when it became a trend, girls were wearing dresses like this from Marie Quant in the streets, and older women or grandmas, they were beating them in the streets, saying bad things to them because they are wearing too much short outfits. But yeah, it was revolutionary time due to the progress in the medical industry. So you can see that whatever happens in the environment or whatever happens around the person is influencing the way he thinks, the way he behaves, the way what he wears, he or she, right? Okay, so here we were supposed to, this is the trends that you had to research. I hope your research is done. So we will come back to this a bit later. Right now I want to talk with you about the fashion business chain, how it works, and why we need trends, why we need trend books. So here is the whole chain of the fashion business, and as I already told you, it can take up to 6 months from the first stage until the last stage to be done. So we always start by design. Of course, before design, if we do not buy the trend book, we need to do the research ourselves, because if you have a lot of money, of course you can go and buy the trend book for $4,000 or $5,000 just for the next 2 collections. But if you don't, it's totally fine if you do the research yourself, because it's a lot of information you can find on the internet. Still, it's not guarantee you 100% same trend what will be 2 years ahead according to the trend books of WGSN, but still you can have your own opinion of what will be your own trend and things like this. So normally before designing, you actually need to do a research. What was popular in the previous seasons, right? What was the colors of the previous season, and what styles are not trendy anymore. At least this research you need to do, so that you just remove it from your from your head, and then you research what is really cool right now, what colors are really popular right now, what shapes are popular right now, what materials, maybe new materials, are so popular right now. So when you have that research, you have like the source from which you can start creating, from which you can start designing. Of course, you need to come up with a collection theme, with inspiration, with a mood board, with materials, because sometimes if you just imagine a wonderful material and then you go to market and there is nothing like this, it will be a problem. So you always have to stay in the reality, designing something really fresh and interesting, and at the same time understand that you will be able to find the material you need to make your designs come true. So the first stage is the design. Second stage, yes, we search for material. We at the stage of design, we need to define what will be our materials. So when you know what material you need, for example, if you are a very big brand and you have the possibility to create the fabric to fit your brand, right? Not every designer, of course, has that ability because it's really expensive. But if you are a Dior, let's say, you can easily create your own jacquard, like it was created just recently, a new type of the jacquard made specifically for Dior. So you can see that, okay, there is a search for raw material to create that certain type of fabric. Then it moves to the fabric production, right? So a specific fabric is produced according to the color that you chose, right? According to the texture that you chose. So it all comes from the research, all comes from the design part. After you chose specific colors, specific textures, it goes to the garment production. So the fabric manufacturer finishes your order, and usually if you ask for your own color or for your own texture, it starts from 1,000 kilometers of fabrics before, like, they will not sell you 100 meters of fabrics. This is nothing for them. So if you ask for your own type of fabric or for your own type of color, be prepared that you will have to pay a lot and order a lot of kilometers of fabric so that they will produce it just for you. If you don't have the money to buy 10 kilometers of fabric, then you can just see what is there in the store, in retail or wholesale. But like this, if you just buy from retailer or from wholesaler of the fabrics, there is a chance that somebody else will have the same fabric in their collections as you are. So it's always, it's always like this. This is business. So after you chose a fabric, the manufacturer sends it to the address of your garment producer. So like this, okay, you send them the design file, you send them the technical sketch with face and backside, with all the inner details, with amount of, let's say, 2 zippers, 2 flap pockets, 1 button in the center, and you describe everything inside of the file, and preferably in the language which the manufacturers work. If they do not know English, you need to find an interpreter who will be translating your file into the local language. So like this, there will be no misunderstandings, okay? Because if they will translate your text with Google Translate, I'm not sure you will get final result what you were expecting to have. So after you send them the file and the fabric manufacturer sends them the fabric, they start producing 1 prototype. Before to produce thousands of pieces, they produce 1 prototype, and normally it's a designer who goes and checks to make fittings on the model, and he or she, designer, they check the way the prototype fits, and if it is the same idea which he or she were illustrating in the mood board, in the sketches. So if there is changes in patterns, if something doesn't fit right, they point like here and here and here and here, change. They change the adjustments on the pattern. After that, they create another prototype. Then it comes to the second fitting. Then you check, okay, model is wearing, everything looks good, okay, prototype is approved. After that, it might take up to 2 or 3 weeks until the prototype is perfectly done. I mean, of course, it depends on the professionalism of the team that works in the garment production company. or the amount of orders they have at the same time. So the time also can vary. After the prototype is approved, they start the mass production, according to amount of pieces you ordered. And each model is approved. Each model in your collection should be approved in this way, because if you do not check the patterns, you never know what will be the end result, and it's not gonna always meet your expectations, right? So after all the garments are approved, they start massive production. At the end of the production, there is people who come and open each box and open each dress or each t-shirt, and they check if it's really high quality and if it's really match the technical file with measurements that you sent in the beginning. So if there is something that doesn't really match, okay, or it's too big in comparison, or there is something torn apart, they remove it and they say, no, we don't take this, or produce more, or refund with the money. So there is a lot of people involved in this whole process. After the final packages are done and everything is approved, they pay the manufacturer company, and then it goes to transport. So now all of the boxes are packed, and now it's time to send them all to the stores. It can be all sent to one country or to several different countries at the same time, it depends. Transportation also goes like from 1 week up to a month. It also depends what is the way you are sending your goods. For example, if you are doing air transportation, it's also possible. It's the most expensive way of transportation. Air transportation goes up to 5 days. It also depends on what is the amount of the goods you have. But air transport usually takes up to 5 days. Another possibility is to send the goods by car, by a big truck. By a big truck, it goes up to 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks maximum. And if you are, let's say, ordering from China and you want to deliver to Europe, by plane will be too long and too expensive. By car will be way too long. So what they do, they send the goods by ships. So they do shipment to the Europe. By ship, it can go up to 2 months. So it's a really, really long time-consuming process. And I even heard the cases that some companies are doing it that way. I don't know if it's legal or not, but they actually, for example, from Europe, they sent a ship to purchase fabrics in China, right? They purchase fabric, they put it on the ship, and they have 2 months to reach Europe by ship, right? And on the way in that ship, while they go 2 months to Europe, they have sewing machines, they have all the equipment inside of the ship. So the team is already on the ship, okay? So while they will reach Europe, the garments on the way will be prepared. This is a very brilliant idea. I don't know who is actually doing that, but I heard this exists. Yeah. So like this, they're saving time and saving money purchasing fabrics in China because it's great quality and very good price. Like in Europe, you cannot find such price. So like this, people are trying to find, variations, how to reduce costs and still be not too much late on time. Because by the moment you started creating the whole design process until you will actually make it and you will deliver it, a lot of time pass. So eventually, when they bring the garments on the territory of another country, they need to start selling. But you know what? To start selling, You cannot just import easily the goods like this and start selling. There is another process which is called certification of the goods. Like I am doing the certification right now because I've produced my garments in Antalya in Turkey and I need to import it to Russia. So how does it actually work? For example, if by the law of the Russian Federation, I have to have the certificate that proves that my products are qualified and have the high standards of quality. So this certificate is really costly. It costs a lot. And normally I have to do the certificate for every type of fabric composition that I have. For example, wool, cotton, linen, polyester, all types of compositions. And even mixed compositions like polyester wool, for example, or cotton polyester, it's another composition. And for each type of the model. So overall together it comes very costly. And I can't just bring it from Turkey to Russia to sell it easily. I need to bring samples first, officially. Bring it to the laboratory. Give it to them, like 1 piece per each sample. Give them the garments. They will register it and then they will tear it apart, they will burn it, they will do laboratory tests with these samples. And then 1 month after the tests are done, they will give me the certificate proving that it's a high quality. And only then with this paper, I can ask the rest of the goods to be sent to my address and to be imported into another country, into Russian Federation. And then at the border, I will have to pay taxes for these imported goods. Okay, so it's a very long, time-consuming and very expensive process. That's why clothing is very expensive, because each step requires taxes, certifications, transportations, and so on, so on, so on. Okay, and then it goes to the stores, and only then it comes to consumers. So it's a very long, time-consuming process which involves a lot of people, right? So when it involves a lot of people, you also should understand that something can go wrong because, you know, many people is hard to control. Everybody have their own problems at the same time, so it should be really a big team, right? A good team management. So it's really time consuming. Therefore, if you did it all and you created a collection, you want to make sure it will be sold because you put a lot of time in it, you put a lot of money in it, right? You put a lot of salaries in it. So you have to make sure that it will be sold. Therefore, we really need to understand trends and we really need to make sure that it will be sold. Okay, so this is how it works. This is a very long process. So let's come back to your researches and let's see what you did for the trends research, because I'm just the only one who is speaking. So please send me your researches to the group chat and let's check it together. Are you here with me?